The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Wrestling to the Max, Smackdown Review.
And we are live to tape on the W2M Network with the Wrestling to the Max SmackDown Live review for Tuesday night, August 14th, 2018. Good evening, afternoon, whenever you're listening, everybody. I am your host. My name is Harry Broadhurst. I apologize for my curtness this evening. I burnt the crap out of my tongue last night, so I won't be doing a ton of soliloquying. But the man who's here for that is Brandon Biskobing.
To quote a very annoying character in a movie that I can't believe you've never seen, my tongue is numb.
I don't even know the movie you're quoting.
Episode 1, Phantom Menace.
Meh. Not a Star Wars person. Never have been.
I know this. That's why I said it.
Okay. Yeah, as it turns out, the Global Wrestling Network on Roku is kind of a crap show right now still.
I'm still waiting for New Japan World to join Roku.
See, for those of you wondering why we're a little bit delayed tonight, it's because Harry has found out that Harry has the option to be able to watch Global Wrestling Network on his Roku. He already has WWE, Shikara, and Progress Wrestling on his Roku, but he wanted to add another service because he doesn't have enough time in the day as it is. Didn't really work out the way I planned it, so I guess I'll wait until they finalize the details for the Roku app and go from there for GWN. All right, Brandon, what do you say we get into tonight's episode of SmackDown Live as we are at the go-home for this Sunday's SummerSlam pay-per-view, which reminds me, pay-per-view predictions to come at the end of this show.
Yep.
So if you're interested in listening to our pay-per-view predictions, Brandon will go back over his Monday Night Raw predictions in addition to making SmackDown predictions. I will be predicting all of the matches because my other predictions don't exist on this network. They exist over at the Chairshot Radio Network, www.thechairshot.com. Show. And with that being said, I think that sends us into tonight's SmackDown review. You ready, Brandon?
Let's do it.
All right. Our opening segment, a Talkie special, is the three women involved in the SmackDown Live Women's title match at SummerSlam, Carmella, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte Flair. They go back and forth for a bit, and apparently the term diva is an insult now, Brandon.
Well, that would make sense.
Carmella owns up to the fact that she's a diva, stating the fact that she got here because of the things that Charlotte and Becky don't have. Her looks, her body, her charisma. But the other thing that she has that Charlotte and Becky don't have right now is the championship. Paige arrives and makes a match. It is the Teddy Long special. It's a tag match.
Player.
As we're going to get Carmella doing guest commentary when Becky and Charlotte team up to take on Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. Your thoughts on our opening segment?
I like the opening segment for the most part. It wasn't... it could have been better, but all in all, it was good. Honestly, I was a little surprised at how they handled, because I saw on one of the previews for tonight that, they were saying Paige was going to give Sonya and Mandy an opportunity, and with how she's treated them in the past, I was thinking, they're going to get a one-on-one match against each other. So I'm kind of surprised because she's been seemingly been trying to break them up for a while, that she actually allowed them to team up together against Becky and Charlotte. But, all in all, it was good. I do like how they're kind of using the whole stigma of the past as a way to build heels as, yeah, Carmella is more of the old school, oh, look at me and my, my body and everything, and focus on my looks over my actual wrestling ability type of diva from back prior to the Women's Revolution. Same with Alexa Bliss. While it's gonna get old after a while, it definitely is something to kind of, the women heels, for whatever reason. I think it's because it's just so easy to book a female heel. They are definitely the best heels in the WWE currently, but this just, adds to it even more.
Our opening contest, scheduled for one fall, is the aforementioned tag match.
Playa?
As Charlotte and Becky Lynch do take on Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. 11 minutes and 3 seconds, about 8 of which was shown. Becky Lynch taps out Mandy Rose with a disarm her, going straight House of Fire at the finish, and not making the tag to Charlotte, instead taking care of business herself. Do you think that this was necessary in order to build up Becky as a more legitimate threat, her taking out Sonya and Mandy more or less by herself in order to get the submission in this contest?
To an extent, yes, but I think it is more so of the opposite variety, which it's that whole... I think this was done for a combination of two reasons. For one, it's the whole reverse momentum theorem where Becky gets the win here to make sure she still looks strong heading into the match, even though she's not going to win. But at the same time, I also think that this is kind of teasing. Whether or not they do it is a different question. I think it all hinges upon whether or not we are going to end up getting tag titles at Evolution. And I think this is why the whole Bayley and Sasha thing, I know, a different show, but why their whole thing has been so wishy-washy. I think they've been going back and forth on the ideas of tag titles for the women. And if they are moving forward with tag titles for the women, then nothing is going to come of this Sunday. But if not, I think they could have a bit of some issues between Charlotte and Becky, leading to those two feuding for the title one-on-one moving forward after SummerSlam.
Well, we'll get more into our predictions a little bit later on. I don't want to give too much away too early in the show here, but I think you might be onto something, the whole reverse momentum thing. We'll get into the predictions, like I said, a little bit later, because, well, that's kind of what we were told to do. Just saying. Mm-hmm. Miz and Mrs. Miz, a.k.a. Miz and Maurice, have a inset promo, the new cell phone video gimmick thing that they do to let us know that Miz and Mrs. is getting a second season. I watched the first episode. I haven't watched episodes 2 and 3 yet, but I intend to eventually. Have you had a chance to check out the show? If so, what are your thoughts?
I have had no interest whatsoever in watching it.
Very well. Backstage, Charlotte and Becky have a conversation about the title match. Charlotte calls out Becky on doing it by herself. Charlotte wishes Becky luck in the triple threat this Sunday. Becky doesn't need luck. Brandon knocks stuff over on his desk. Has made the best woman win, which Becky replies she will. They hold up tea, and everybody appears to be okay for now. Our next contest scheduled for one fall. Although I guess technically our next contest scheduled for one bludgeoning.
One bludgeoning.
Although theoretically they whooped all 3 of those jobbers, so would that be 3 bludgeonings?
I believe you are correct.
I feel like the count over here today. 3 bludgeonings.
1 bludgeoning, 2 bludgeoning, 3 bludgeonings.
The triple threat. That wasn't subtle at all.
What are we going to get next week if they move on to 4, the Fatal 4-Way?
I feel like one of the jobbers next week is going to be named Shane Douglas. There's an extra added screw you to him. Never let it be said that Vince isn't vindictive.
Well, we already knew that.
All right, we're going to cover all 3 of these in one here, since they're going to do it's a night-long series of video packages talking about their feud. The Miz and Daniel Bryan video segments here. Obviously, Miz is busy filming stuff for the show. Bryan's busy getting ready to be back into the ring once again at SummerSlam here. I want to get your thoughts here. Did the video packages that they showed here, the contrarian promos that they had against each other in video package format, talking about their history together, did that increase your interest in the match on Sunday, or were you already looking forward to the match there and this didn't really do anything for you?
I was already looking forward to the match because I know the recent history and I know, some of the earlier history. But I think for some of the more casual fans who may have come in the last year and a half prior to what has happened between the two, even the more recent history with Talking Smack, it's definitely going to get them more in tune as to why are these two feuding. I did find it interesting while I started in a little bit of history for myself. I came in starting watching wrestling on a full-time basis right towards the end of 2010, around September. So it was right after, or a little after, the Nexus had debuted and Daniel had gotten fired and then rehired. So I didn't actually see what transpired between the two on NXT. I knew that Miz was Bryan's pro back then, but I didn't really see what actually transpired on NXT. So that, for me, was kind of insightful to see, okay, where did this feud kind of begin? I know that isn't really the real basis behind this feud, but it is kind of a good little way of having some extra history between the two. But then the whole Talking Smack stuff and everything, it was just kind of stuff to catch everyone up on what has happened in the past to make it as to why these two are feuding.
Well, I mean, technically the NXT stuff was the launching point, but I think the relaunch, the definitive relaunch, was definitely the Talking Smack segment that they addressed in part 2 of it here.
Oh, definitely.
I said when I did these predictions on the reaction, I'm going to say it again now, even though we will be giving our predictions later. This is your match of the night come Sunday. Without a doubt in my mind.
Although, I'm going to have a very bold prediction coming up. So be sure to stay tuned.
I have a pretty significant prediction about this match as well, so we'll see what happens when we get to the match itself. Let's go ahead and move on. As our next contest is a 6-man tag match.
Player.
Scheduled for one fall.
One fall.
As the New Day takes on Sanity, and we go balls Mahoney to the wall.
Mm-hmm.
I had to get our shtick in, because we got the rest of our shtick in at the start of this match.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying, Brandon? I'm saying that this show is full of shtick. Anyway, apparently the Midnight Hour has been renamed as Xavier Woods goes up, down the side of Alexander Wolf's head for the pinfall victory for the New Day at 11 minutes and 10 seconds. Understandable, given the fact that New Day is getting the tag team title opportunity at SummerSlam, but a little disappointing to see Sanity losing a 6-man tag this early into their run on SmackDown.
Are you ready to concede defeat and admit that I'm right, finally?
No, I'm not, because I still think that there's a way for Sanity to go, especially...
I'm not just talking about Sanity. I mean, look at what happened last night with AOP.
Oh, well, I still think Sanity has hope if they give them the Twisted Sister.
Yeah, but considering what happened last week, it doesn't look like that's happening for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, for those of you wondering what we're talking about, you can go listen to last week's NXT review, available on W2Mnet.com and on many of the same places you're listening to this particular episode of SmackDown Reviewed. Stitcher, Spreaker, iTunes, CastBox, Podbean. Hey, Brandon, guess what?
Spotify is here.
And Glacier is coming. Maybe. We're working on that. We'll let you know. He might no-show us. We don't know. We'll let you know. We'll keep you up to date. Anyway. Any thoughts on the six-man tag? I mean, I know you kind of talked about the whole sanity fallout from it, but what were your thoughts on the match itself?
I mean, the match itself was okay. It definitely was, a decent match. The one thing I'm very impressed with, and I'm glad that they're doing it, and it gives me hope for the future, especially considering, just in terms of the way he looks and everything, he doesn't exactly seem like the type of guy that at least in Vince McMahon's world, would really get much of a push. But over the last couple of weeks and over the last couple of months, Xavier Woods has definitely been impressing, and has definitely been one of those guys that has been thrusted into the forefront of the New Day. Back when they first started, it was always Kofi and Big E with Xavier at ringside playing his trombone. But now he's definitely getting more of an opportunity to show what he can do in the ring.
I would agree with that, but I think at the same time, Xavier's more than proven himself capable of showing.
Oh, no, I'm not saying he's not capable. I'm just saying it's a good thing that they're actually allowing him to show it instead of him just kind of being the third wheel.
All right, we move on where Paige confronts Samoa Joe backstage wearing a super push-up bra. You don't want me to notice, don't make it that obvious. Anyway, she yells at Joe not to ruin her main event for SummerSlam by going out and confronting AJ later in the evening. Joe says that the reason you put me into this match is because you wanted unpredictability. So I could just go out there and destroy AJ tonight, or I could just sit back in my plush dressing room and wait until Sunday. You'll just have to stay tuned and find out what I do, because he's going to do what he damn well pleases, when he damn well pleases. In case you're wondering, this is the equivalency of Joe giving 0 ducks.
Joe, while not including the whole part-time thing and the not wanting to be there and all of that, Joe basically is SmackDown's Brock.
I had this conversation with Tony and Andrew last night. Samoa Joe is the most legitimate badass on the WWE's roster, and that includes Lesnar and Strowman.
Wow, that's a strong claim.
I stand by it. We move on with our next contest scheduled for one fall.
One fall.
Which is ironic because it takes us about as long to say this as the match actually goes. Aiden English versus Andrade Cien Almas. Thank you to goodbye, Aiden English. Hammerlock DDT at 1.5 minutes.
There's a certain vegetable that describes this match.
Well, I don't know if I would agree that it's vegetable, because English does get in some offense here, but it is a very short match. If anything, what happened to the triple threat was vegetable.
Yes. Oh, that definitely was. But
the runtime screams vegetable, so just for you. Smells like squash. There you go. One of our new bits.
Yep.
Again, the Hammerlock DDT ends it. Post-match, Vega and Almas both get promo time calling out Rusev and Lana. Brandon, do you happen to know what day it is?
I'm almost about ready to say it. I'm gonna wait until SummerSlam.
But fine, I'll do it myself. It's Rusev Day.
This was as close to a face promo as we have gotten, and it looks like they're leaning that way. But I am waiting for the official full-on face turn before I am fully behind Rusev Day.
I will also point out that Lana is the best.
Lana number 1.
Thank you. Paige meets AJ Styles, telling AJ to be a professional tonight. AJ says he made a promise to his wife Wendy, and he intends to keep it. As to what that means, dun dun dun. Flashback to a food fight because ratings. Yeah, no. I'm not in high school. Food fights aren't funny anymore.
Nope.
The third installment of Miz and Bryan airs here. We already talked about it earlier. If you watch anything from tonight's episode of SmackDown, check out these 3 video packages. They are traditional, top-notch WWE camera stuff.
Yep.
Our main event match is scheduled for one fall.
One fall.
Even if it does get the John in progress treatment, as the charismatic enigma Jeff Hardy takes on the I should have stayed in New Japan Shelton Benjamin.
Couldn't that describe everyone that's come from New Japan in the last 3 years?
AJ Styles says hi. Finn Balor says hi.
AJ is the exception. Balor is treading water right now.
Currently, yes, but Balor was the first Universal Heavyweight Champion.
True, I'll give you that.
And if Balor doesn't bust his shoulder dabbing into the ring barrier during that match, who knows how long he keeps that title for.
I'll give you that.
Anywho, B finishes rule this week on WWE television as Baron Corbin pinned Tyler Breeze with the Deep Six, and Jeff Hardy pinned Shelton Benjamin with a splash. Shinsuke Nakamura comes in post-match and attacks, looking for Kinshasa! But does not get it as he gets caught in the twist of fate and then hit with a swanton, therefore explaining the reasoning that Shelton Benjamin got jobbed to a B finish. Your thoughts on the match as well as the post-match attack with that creeper Randy Orton looking on, possibly with his dingus hanging out of his tights?
I think this was pretty much standard WWE right now. Well done, by the way. This is pretty much standard WWE at this point. Hardy gets a win to give him some momentum against someone who's lower than him on the card. Shinsuke comes in, and tries to attack Hardy, but Hardy's able to fend it off in order to keep his momentum to preserve reverse momentum theorem. And Randy's looking on saying, yeah, I'm going to screw you out of the title next week, or later this week.
Our main event promo scheduled for 10 minutes.
Not doing it.
Oh, but it's the main event.
Still.
Is the phenomenal AJ Styles SummerSlam promise. And the promise that he made was actually to his wife that he would maintain his temper in the match against Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe interrupts, comes out and reads a statement from a member of the WWE Universe, air quotes on an audio podcast, stating that he hated what the person hated what Joe had to say, but the more she thought about it, the more it made her sick to her stomach because it was accurate. She used to be an AJ Styles fan, but now it's clear that AJ never wanted kids or a wife. He would do anything to win and stay away from his family, and I hope that you win at SummerSlam so he can lose what he loves because I lost him a long time ago. My greatest gratitude, Wendy Styles. Okay, 3 things about this, and then I'll let you give your thoughts here.
All right.
1, I thought AJ's mic work was actually very good, continuing the trend of him definitely being significantly improved on the microphone.
Mm-hmm.
2, given the material that Joe was given here, I thought he delivered it okay, but not spectacularly. 3, if you really want to drive the point home, why wouldn't Joe use Wendy's given last name or AJ's given last name rather than using his gimmick name?
I think that's kind of along the lines of, like, I guess they don't want to go down the Punk Triple H route, and they still want to keep it at least somewhat in the realm of kayfabe.
I mean, I guess kind of, but at the same time, if you're going for these deep-cutting personal angles, it's not exactly a secret that his last name isn't Styles.
Oh, no, I get that, but well, no, I think the reasoning behind it is because Joe wouldn't have mentioned Joe wouldn't have mentioned AJ's name unless he said, like, AJ, oh, I mean Alan Jones. Unless he did something like that, it wouldn't have worked because the more casual fans who don't know his real name wouldn't have gotten what he was referencing and wouldn't have gotten the fact that it is Styles' wife that he's talking about if he had said Wendy Jones.
Agree to disagree on this one, especially in what is being construed as more of a reality error. But okay, what about your thoughts?
I agree with you in the reality error level, but I still feel like, yes, we kind of have our bubble where we know everything, so we know these things. But I feel like not most, but the fans that WWE mostly tries to cater to, which are the casuals, they're not going to know the real names of most of these guys.
What was your thoughts on the mic work itself?
The mic work itself was good. I felt like Styles kind of dragged a little bit, where it was like, okay, I kind of drowned him out a little bit for a second. But besides that, I definitely liked what was going on. The Joe thing, definitely, pushed it, further. This is another one, and I'll talk about it, when we do our predictions. But especially what's coming up in September. This is another feud that, while this one I feel less likely than the other one, this feud is definitely one that if they wanted to, especially with how personal they've made it, they should move it ahead. But we'll see where they go. I'll talk about my official predictions when we get to it.
And that officially wraps us up for this episode of SmackDown Live. Scale of 1 to 10, Brandon, where did you fall on this episode?
I'll give it a 7.5. Most of the stuff, most of the stuff was spot on. The whole Bryan and Miz thing, them showing their history, and informing people of what has transpired in the past to show why they are feuding was good. The AJ Samoa Joe thing just gets more and more personal every week. And I'll mention it later, but I hope they continue it. But other than that, I mean, the Charlotte Becky thing is going to be interesting in going into SummerSlam. But tonight it wasn't really, much of anything. They had a match against each other, yes, but they still came out of it friends. So we're kind of saving the potential heel turn for one of them to SummerSlam. But besides that, nothing really stood out to me distinctly.
Yeah, I was a little bit higher than you were going into the main event segment, but then I thought the way that the main event segment came off kind of flat to me, so I'm actually going to go a little bit lower than you are, and I'm going to give it a 7.
Well, I gave it a 7, too.
You gave it a 7.5.
Oh, did I say 7.5? I meant 7.
Well, anyway. Brandon's inability to do math aside. I actually thought overall that the show was pretty good, but I do think that the ending came off kind of flat, which hurt it. Clearly, to me, the best thing about this episode of SmackDown Live were the Miz Bryan vignettes, and it's another way to increase the interest going forward into that there. The New Day gets to look good going into what should be a a big-time throwdown with the Bludgeon Brothers at SummerSlam. We'll talk about that once we get to SummerSlam, though. Our predictions for that are coming up shortly, so I don't feel the need to plug those any further. But, yeah, otherwise, I thought it was a very strong episode of SmackDown up until the falling flat finish. One-word review, Brandon. What do you got?
Momentum. Like you just mentioned, New Day gets some momentum by being Sandy going into the tag team match. Same with Sandy. The Miz and Bryan match gets even more momentum with all these vignettes and showing the history and showing the vitriol between the two of them. Same with Styles versus Joe with their promos and really setting up the hatred between the two of them currently. Everything was just a nice build. And even the Charlotte versus Becky, while we didn't really get much hint at a turn of one or the other, it kind of sets up that potential. And same with Rusev Day as well, with Aiden English losing once again and failing Rusev Day once again. So, a lot of momentum going into SummerSlam and a lot of things to look forward to on the blue side of things going into SummerSlam.
Well, I would argue, and the word that I'm going to use is focus, because it was so heavily focused towards the build to SummerSlam. This was a very definition of a well-done go-home show, in my opinion.
Oh, yes.
I would argue that the foundation was laid for Becky and Charlotte. It was just laid very subtly.
True.
Because Charlotte got miffed that Becky didn't tag her in, and then wished Becky luck, and Becky said she didn't need it. And then when Charlotte said, "May the best woman win," Becky responded back to her,
I
"She
will." Yeah.
Well, she didn't even say "I." She said
she will, yeah.
Even more subtle. That's going to officially wrap up our predictions for our review, of the SmackDown Live Go Home episode for August 14th, 2018. What we have now is our predictions for SummerSlam 2018. And if you're interested, you can check out this week's episode of the Raw Reaction, where I give my full NXT TakeOver Brooklyn predictions as well. Due to the fact that this isn't TakeOver, we're going to do TakeOver probably when we do the NXT review tomorrow or Thursday, or, well, whenever the hell we have time to do the NXT TakeOver review.
Yep.
Preview / review of tomorrow's episode. You know what I mean.
Yes.
Brandon's forgotten how to math. I've forgotten how to English. It is what it is. All right, so we're gonna start with the Red Brand, since you've already done your predictions. Where can people listen to the full details for your predictions on the Red Brand?
You can hear all of my full predictions for the Red Brand over on the Raw review, which we did earlier today on the W2M network. So check that out.
Should be right below our SmackDown review here in your news feeds if you go through like the RSS subscriptions that the podcast providers traditionally provide. So just real quick, let's run through the Raw predictions for you, and then I'll give my thoughts on it as well. The pre-show for the Red Brand sees the B team defending the tag team titles against the Revival. Who did you have?
Revival.
Likewise, I think the Revival's time has come. Trying to turn the B team into the modern-day Spirit Squad is not going to do them any favors. They were construed as somewhat legitimate when they had the awesome Battle Scars theme song, but now that they got this raw bullspit, there's no reason that these belts should not go on to the Revival, who have had quite a few major moments in Brooklyn already in their careers.
Exactly, and this would be a way to solidify the tag division.
And that's what I was about to add, too, is it's a way to shore up the tag team division. But, all right, let's go ahead and move on to Finn Balor and Baron Corbin.
I have Baron Corbin winning this because I have a feeling that this isn't going to be the end of this.
I have a feeling it is, because they've already split 1-1. Once Balor gets the win here at SummerSlam, there's no need to do a fourth match. Remember, Balor won at Extreme Rules, Corbin won the next night on Raw.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
This is the blow-off here. Balor gets the win. And
you're right. Then, yeah, actually, I will actually change my prediction from the Raw review, because I actually forgot about that match on Raw. It will be Balor. You're right.
IC title match sees Dolph Ziggler defend against Seth Rollins.
I actually have this going down as what did I have this going at? I think this is going to end with shenanigans. But
So like a no contest?
Dolph will retain.
I think Ziggler keeps the belt, but I don't think Ambrose turns like a lot of people are expecting.
No, this is just going to end up in an all-out brawl between the four of them, and it's going to end in a no contest.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see Rollins and Ambrose involved a little bit later on in the show as well. I'll let you read into that what you want to read into that.
I already know what you're talking about there, but
I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it wouldn't surprise me, especially to counteract any kind of shenanigans that may be attempted to be pulled by Paul Heyman. All right, moving on. The Money in the Bank briefcase is on the line when Braun Strowman defends it against Kevin Owens in a match where no matter how Strowman loses, if he loses the briefcase.
Especially with that stipulation, I don't see any way that KO doesn't win. Especially with the backing of Stephanie and the Constable.
Owens needs that briefcase more than Strowman does. Strowman could be placed into a heavyweight title match against Roman Reigns, and nobody would blink an eye. Strowman could be placed into another heavyweight title match against Brock Lesnar, and nobody would blink an eye. You put Kevin Owens in a heavyweight title match against Brock Lesnar, people are going to question what the did he do to deserve that. Mm-hmm. This gives Owens that reason. I think that Owens wins the briefcase here.
I go in further detail, but my official prediction is Corbin causes a DQ win.
Alexa Bliss defends the Raw Women's title against Ronda Rousey.
Yes, I know they have Evolution coming up, but I think they want this win on a bigger card that more eyes are going to be on. Rousey wins.
Every part of me wants Alexa to retain. Every part of me knows that it's not going to happen. Rousey wins the title. Brock Lesnar defends the WWE Universal Championship in the probable main event against Roman Reigns.
Neither.
Owens cash in?
Yep.
I got 3 words that are going to strike fear into every WWE fan's heart here. You ready?
Yep.
Brock Lesnar retains.
Oh, God. Please.
I didn't say I want it to happen, but I would not be surprised to see Vince pull another troll job here and have Lesnar keep the belt.
I disagree. I think this is the perfect opportunity to do quite the opposite of, I think, especially with the timeline, and unless Vince is so hell-bent on, and he has a deal in place with Dana White already, unless he is so focused on having Lesnar go into UFC as the Universal Champion, there's no way that he doesn't drop it so he can focus on getting ready for his UFC fight.
Oh, I'm not saying that at all. And you got to remember, there's still a Raw after Mania to happen too, or a Raw after SummerSlam to happen too, and they're trying to make that into another big thing like the Raw after Mania is.
True.
By doing that full weekend there. I'm not saying that Kevin Owens doesn't come out of this weekend of shows with the championship. I'm just saying it doesn't happen at SummerSlam.
Fair enough.
The purple brand gives us Cedric Alexander defending the Cruiserweight title against Drew Gulak. The reason we're doing this now instead of on the 205 Live review is because more people listen to SmackDown.
True. I hate to say it because I would love to see Drew get it, but I think Cedric probably retains here.
I think Cedric taps like Mr. Bojangles on speed.
I'd be perfectly fine with it, but I just don't know if I see it.
The exact quote that I gave last night on the reaction is the exact one I'm going to give right here on the SmackDown review. I have been calling for Drew Gulak to win the Cruiserweight title since there was a Cruiserweight title coming back into the company here. He is by far and away the most interesting character on 205 Live.
Now I'd give a slight, at least a run for his money with Leo.
But at the same time, you can have somebody beat Drew for the belt and then defend it against Leo. I wouldn't be surprised to see Akira beat Drew for the belt.
True.
Because Akira, Tozawa and Gulak have history as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I am of the opinion that you put the belt on Gulak here, and even if it is as a transitional reign, you can still have him use the belt as a furthering for his the betterment of 205 Live.
True.
Or as he's called it before, Drew 05 Live.
Yep.
We now move to the blue brand, Brandon.
Okay.
Try saying that 5 times fast. Our pre-show match is the mixed tag team match.
Player.
Thank you. As Rusev and Lana take on Andrade Cien Almas and Zelina Vega. I had to wait for a few seconds, but we got there.
Sorry, I just hate talking about that because it still it still leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Just make a prediction. We don't need to bring up the MMC again.
With how things are going on both ends, Almas and Vega win as a result of a ill-timed Aiden English as a result of an ill-timed Aiden English screw-up / attempt to interfere in the match. And then post-match, we get Rusev or either Machka kicking or putting English in the accolade, thus solidifying and legitimizing a Rusev and Lana face turn.
See, I don't know if I agree with that. I think if Rusev Machka kicks Aiden English, Rusev stays heel there.
I disagree.
Aiden's over. I think people like Aiden on the basis of the introductions that he gives for Rusev, because you heard the pop that he got tonight when he did the spiel before his match with Andrade. So I'm just saying, I don't necessarily know that I agree that Rusev popping Aiden English after the match would turn Rusev babyface. That being said, as far as the match goes, copy and paste verbatim what you said for my prediction as well. Rusev and Lana have control of the match. That things break down. Almas and Rusev are brawling at ringside. English attempts to get involved, ends up hitting Rusev by mistake. A distracted Lana is rolled up by Zelina Vega for the pinfall inside of the ring. And then we probably see the split of Rusev and English, I would say more likely on SmackDown.
I just think that the only way, even if it doesn't make a ton of sense, and whereas with like someone like Roman, a seemingly forced face, quote unquote face turn would turn the fans completely against them. Even if it didn't make a ton of sense, Rusev doing something against Aiden and the company treating it as a face turn would, I think, still get more people behind Rusev, and I think him as a face would allow him to go further up the card.
The U.S. title is on the line when Shinsuke Nakamura defends against Jeff Hardy. There is literally 0% chance Jeff gets the belt here, right?
No, especially with all the rumors of his injuries.
I mean, his brother Matt's contemplating retirement. Jeff's probably not far behind himself at this point with the beating his body has taken over the years. Shinsuke retains, and then it's him and that peep show Randy Orton going forward for the U.S. title.
Which doesn't really make any sense because, you know, Randy has been completely focused on Hardy this whole time, so it doesn't really make any sense that now he's suddenly going to turn his attention to Nakamura.
Well, the difference is Nakamura is the healthy one.
Oh no, I understand it on a outside of the ring level, but on a kayfabe level, it does not make any lick of sense.
I'm actually really looking forward to this. Harper and Rowan taking on who I think will be Big E and Kofi, but I do not know for sure, the New Day. They usually bring out the big team for the big matches, and E and Kofi are the traditional defenders of the tag challengers for the tag team titles.
Yes. On one hand, I feel like Bludgeon Brothers have so much momentum going right now, and even continuing tonight. I feel like they're gonna retain, but at the same time, it is SummerSlam. Is the type of moment that the New Day would thrive on, and they would like to have that feel-good moment for this Big Four. I think I'm gonna say New Day, actually.
Bludgeon Brothers retain, if only because I want to see them and Cesaro and Sheamus just beat the snuffleupagus out of each other.
I think we're going to get a repeat, well, not full repeat, but semi-repeat of last year with New Day and Bludgeon Brothers going all out and going balls Mahoney to the wall in the cell at Hell in a Cell.
The match I'm most looking forward to at this show is Daniel Bryan taking on The Miz. May I go first on this one?
Go for it.
Miz wins.
Wow.
And the reason Miz wins is because it solidifies Miz as the new number one contender to the retaining AJ Styles.
I completely disagree. And while I think just for the fans' sake, and just so that the fans in Brooklyn don't have a complete aneurysm, this match will go on for a little while. But this is not going to have a clean finish. Miz and Bryan are going to wrestle for a while. Bryan is going to get the upper hand and be about ready to finish the Miz. And Miz, in his chicken heel ways, is going to roll out of the ring and walk away. And then on Tuesday, we'll try to say, I took the high road and I still won because I survived and I didn't destroy my body. Which will lead up to, you know what the pay-per-view in September is?
It's not Hell in a Cell. That's
yes, it is.
They moved Hell in a Cell to September?
Uh-huh.
Well, that's stupid, but...
Yeah,
okay.
I know it's stupid, but yes. It is Hell in a Cell. So, this will lead to Bryan and Miz being trapped in Hell in a Cell.
I know there is 0.0% chance of this happening, but I'm not going to lie. I would pop for Alex Riley to help Miz win here.
God. No. Just no. Please, no.
Play off the NXT pass that they put over so strongly on SmackDown tonight.
What?
Play off the NXT pass that they put over so strongly on SmackDown tonight.
I'll give you that.
Our SmackDown main event is the WWE Heavyweight Championship match as AJ Styles defends against Samoa Joe. I stated a little bit ago that I think Styles wins. I think that leads to Styles and Miz for your next challenger, just because I feel like if Bryan resigns, Bryan Miz at WrestleMania for the SmackDown Heavyweight title is the likely go-to. What do you think here, Brandon? Who do you have in this title match?
This is another one. I know I'm very SmackDown heavy on this side of things, but all of the Raw pay-per-views just don't... I'm sure they'll figure out a way to finagle one of them into the cell, but these two matches seem like the most likely and the most vitriol to put into the cell at the next pay-per-view. AJ wins as a result of some sort of shenanigans where Joe technically wins, like through count out or something along those lines, but AJ still retains, thus leading once again to them being locked in the Devil's favorite playground in September.
A, there's no way they're doing multiple matches with count out or disqualification finishes. It's not happening. B, I think Seth and Dolph makes more sense for the cell than AJ and Joe does.
While I agree to an extent, look at how personal this rivalry has become.
C, you could just as easily put the tag match between Seth and Drew, or Dolph and Drew against Seth and Dean inside of the cell as well.
True, I'll give you that.
So, realistically speaking, I think that's the Raw one. And if SmackDown does get a Hell in a Cell match, you might be right about Bryan and Miz, but we'll have to see what happens come Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Scale of 1 to 10, Brandon, what's your anticipation level for SummerSlam?
I'm gonna say a 7.5 because, it's another situation. This feels a lot like WrestleMania did to me, where on paper it looks like it's gonna be a fantastic show, but I have a bad feeling that in some way, shape, or form, in Vince McMahon's omnipotent genius, he is going to figure out a way to screw this up.
We'll see what ends up happening. I'm probably closer to like an 8 or a 9 myself. I know it's going to be a long show, but there are a lot of matches on this show that have very strong potential.
I have 2 names for you to simmer your anticipation. You ready? Asuka, Shinsuke Nakamura.
Why would I simmer my anticipation?
Because look at what happened to them at WrestleMania.
I picked AJ Styles to retain against Shinsuke at WrestleMania.
Oh, so did I, but I'm just saying that just those 2 matches completely took the wind out of the crowd.
I think the way that those matches happened took the wind out, not necessarily the how. Charlotte and Asuka was actually a very good match, but people crap all over it because Charlotte won.
Exactly.
I don't think it deserves that, though. I think the match deserves to be recognized in and of its own merits. I don't agree with the finish, but I can understand why they did it.
But that's the thing. Most people, you could have a 5-star match, but if the wrong person goes over, all those stars are a moot point.
All the same, I guess we'll see what happens come Sunday. I understand that there's preliminary talks of you and Liz doing a review?
Yes. More than likely, we will have reviews for both TakeOver and SummerSlam. But be sure to stay tuned and, just be on the lookout on Saturday night, Sunday morning, or Sunday night, Monday morning to see if there are reviews for both TakeOver and SummerSlam.
I will make you guys a deal.
Okay.
If you can wait until Monday, I will join for the SummerSlam review.
Okay, we may very well do that. I'll talk to Liz about that, but yeah, I think we may do that actually if you're willing to do that for SummerSlam.
because I do believe that I should be able to pull that off with doing Monday afternoon, because the rest of the week next week is going to get super busy, and that's one of the things I'm going to have to talk to you about off air as well.
Okay.
So we'll talk a little bit more off air about that. But you know where else people can listen to us, Brandon? They can listen to us on a lot of other shows here on the W2M network, can't they?
One's coming up tomorrow night.
Yeah, but we're going to do that one last because that one's kind of my baby.
Okay, fair enough.
Go ahead and plug your other shows first.
Okay. Well, you can listen to both Harry and I on the NXT review either tomorrow afternoon/evening. Well, not afternoon. Either tomorrow evening after the show is over, or Thursday. We'll have to figure out what our time situation for this week. And you can also hear us on... Well, you can also hear myself on Fantasy Football to the Max, where Jason Teasley and I cover all things fantasy football. We will be coming back, not next week, but the week after, right before... Probably do one right before the final game, the final day of preseason on the 30th. Sometime that week.
That's 2 weeks away then.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a very busy week ahead of me, Brandon.
Okay.
Odds are we're probably doing NXT on Thursday.
Okay.
Because I'm not going to have time to catch up on the other stuff that I watched during the week, which means NXT is going to have to be watched after Big Brother, and therefore not going to be able to do NXT before we get to the kickoff. The official Wednesday debut of the show for this year, the second episode, if you're interested, our college football prediction special is available in the W2M Network timeline, is available on any of the same places that you would listen to all of your other W2M Network favorites, is available on W2Mnet.com. Harry Broadhurst. That would be me. Brandon Biskobing.
Hey.
Jason Teasley. And Eric Watkins. It's basically four friends shooting about professional and college football. And yeah, we really don't hold back on each other during these shows.
Not at all. Like how we all three of us ripped into Jason's predictions.
We shall talk about more of the same tomorrow when the AFC gets previewed.
Yeah, I'm ready. I think Jason and I are both ready to call you guys out for your homerism.
Eric's team and my team both get spotlighted tomorrow night. The Buffalo Bills in the AFC East, the Jacksonville Jaguars in the AFC South. Speaking of the Buffalo Bills, the kickoff in 2 weeks, not tomorrow night's episode, but next week's episode, we'll have a special live preseason football review by yours truly, as I get to see my team live for the first time on Friday.
Very cool.
The Bills come to Cleveland Browns Stadium for a preseason game against the Cleveland Browns. Well, I mean, it is their stadium, you would think. So, NXT, the kickoff, the Raw review, the fantasy football to the max. We still have 205 Live coming at your ear holes right after we're done here. For Brandon Biskobing, I'm Harry Broadhurst, thanking you for listening to the Wrestling to the Max Smackdown Live review for August 14th, 2018. We will talk to you guys next Tuesday night for more Smackdown as the Blue Brand has its All Out from the second biggest pay-per-view of the year, SummerSlam. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll catch you next Tuesday here on the W2M Network.